All right. Well, welcome to our first episode.
Take two.
Take two.
Take two.
And also not including our first attempt as well.
Take three.
Take three of our podcast.
The other two are in the Disney vault.
Yeah, sign up for our Patreon if we ever reach that level for that episode. But yeah, we are doing a podcast here. Just three white guys from Idaho doing a podcast on politics, news, history, whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
Three white guys isn't unique, but Idaho's kind of unique.
Hey, I have not
We're
heard
not those big city liberals
Yeah,
you
not-
hear about.
If you're ever sick of your coastal elites,
yeah.
we've got you here.
We've got a coastal elite perspective in Idaho. Let's go.
So if you're looking for a highly informed podcast, you may tune out now. We are slightly informed. We warn you now. But we're bringing you the news because, you're going to hear it here first.
Yeah.
Tonight, we are going to be jumping into the hilarious New York Times 3-week-long
Hot take.
that they've had, interviewing every single candidate and writing up every single one of them, whether they should or should not be endorsed by them, and deciding
Deciding not to endorse a candidate.
Oh yeah, as
As a
advertised.
typical endorsement works. That was a bold move.
We just did a taste test of the top three, sodas. I endorse both Crush and Fanta to be the best.
Yeah.
Oh,
Only one can win. But, these are our horses. We like them.
Oh man. So yeah, if you haven't read, New York Times decided to go back on the idea of endorsing a candidate in lieu of endorsing two. I mean, one of them we could have guessed. We did guess.
We did.
We knew it was going to be Warren.
We knew Warren was going to
Last
be
night,
there.
as the news broke, I turned to these guys and asked them who they thought, and they immediately guessed Warren. But the second one's a wild card. I wouldn't have seen it coming. The Clobe, Amy Klobuchar.
Really, it wasn't Kamala.
No, she got an honorable mention though. No one was paying attention. Yeah. So I think we're just gonna jump into I tried to clip the most important parts of that article so we could kind of read them to you guys and react to them. So without further ado, it starts. On the Democratic side, an essential debate is underway between two visions that may define the future of the party and perhaps the nation. Some in the party view President Trump as an aberration and believe that a return to more sensible America is possible. Then there are those who believe that President Trump was the product of political and economic systems so rotten that they must be replaced. Yeah, so what do you guys think on that? Can we go back to normal?
Like we define normal as people dying because they couldn't afford their insulin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can. I think we could do it.
Mostly drone strikes. The actual soldiers weren't involved. It was cool.
No. It's just remote-controlled drones.
Yeah, I think largely our perspective on that is that you're not returning to normal. Shit's happened. Shit's on fire. We got to decide what to do with it.
Yep.
It continues. The Democratic primary contest is often portrayed as a tussle between moderates and progressives. The history of the editorial board would suggest that we would side squarely with the candidate with a more traditional approach to pushing the nation forward, within the realities of a constitutional framework and a multi-party country. But the events of the past few years have shaken the confidence of even the most committed institutionalists. I like that segment because they make it sound like you'd think we'd endorse moderates. And then we did. They fucking tease you with this idea. You'd think we'd go that route. And so we did. You were right.
Yes, that's what we did.
You nailed it. And then they start talking about who they didn't pick. So I'll read you the one Twitter was probably most upset about this last week. Mr. Sanders would be 79 when he assumed office, and after an October heart attack, his health is a serious concern. Then there's how Mr. Sanders, they call him Mr., and don't you address people by their title?
Yes.
Whatever. Then there's how Mr. Sanders approaches politics. He boasts that compromise is anathema to him. Only his prescriptions can be the right ones, even the most overly rigid, untested, and divisive. He promises that once in office, a groundswell of support will emerge to push through his agenda. 3 years into the Trump administration, we see little advantage to exchanging one overpromising, divisive figure in Washington for another. Good news, then. that Elizabeth Warren has emerged as the standard bearer for the Democratic left. I like how it's a standard bearer, not the standard bearer. Because the elephant in the room is that she's not the standard bearer of the progressive left.
Oh, my God.
That is Bernie Sanders. Yeah. So, any feelings, Nick? Because I know that's your boy.
That's a hot take right there. Now, I mean, like they brush off, like they do the old like trick of, well, just because Trump was effective in doing this and this in the White House doesn't mean that doing the opposite, being the left Trump, will do it. Like,
yeah.
No, that's not a comparison at all.
That totally worked, but it won't.
Yeah,
trust us.
Yeah, they only changed out a third of the judiciary in less than 2 years, but like definitely not going to work. It's almost like they're rejecting the idea of even like embracing any kind of populism at all. Like just
and I know he is a relatively divisive figure if you look at the whole country, because almost it's always going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
but like the idea that like he like the plans aren't popular, like almost all of his plans pull above like 50-60% support. So all right, diving back in, we're going to talk about the second person. Okay.
The Globe.
I guess it doesn't really start with the Globe. It starts with this. The lack of a single powerful moderate voice in the Democratic race is the strongest evidence of a divided party. Never mind the talented, honorable politicians who chose to sit this fight out. Just stop and consider the talents who did throw their hat into the ring and never got more than a passing glance from voters. Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Steve Bullock, Michael Bennet, Deval Patrick, Jay Inslee, among others.
Crying big tears over Steve Bullock over here.
Yeah, I forgot he was running. I forgot about him, and I forgot about Michael Bennet.
Hey.
I also forgot about Jay Inslee, although I did like him at that.
I like Jay Inslee, but
he seemed like a cool guy.
Thinking about Steve Bullock, like what is the pull? Like at least with Kasich, when they ran him last time, it was like, oh well, he's gonna pull in that very divisive swing state Ohio votes. What are we gonna get? The 3 votes that you get out of Montana?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, cool, dude. Like.
I also love the like slight shade thrown at Biden that there isn't a single moderate voice, like single powerful moderate voice.
Yeah.
When like the front runner this whole time has been like the most moderate candidate possible, but the New York Times, like without saying it,
No
knows
one was right up in front.
Yeah,
even though he's been leading the polls,
and they know he's sundowning. They know there's no way he wins or lasts a full term. Now I did read a fun conspiracy theory that.
Ooh.
The DNC is going to get Joe Biden to win, put whoever they want to actually be president as his VP. Joe Biden resigns for health reasons like a year into his term. They get whoever the fuck they choose.
Yeah.
That's why that's definitely a
wouldn't put it past the DNC.
Warren posturing, what they've done with her lately.
Yeah, slide her in.
Split the progressive vote, have someone who's very malleable, who you
make
can
people relatively happy, because at least a lot of Bernie supporters second is Warren. So you could be like, well, they're in the administration. I don't know. And now's where they start shitting on candidates that they didn't endorse. So let's start with big boy Pete. Pete Buttigieg, who is 38 and who was elected mayor of South Bend, Indiana in 2011, has an all-star resume. Harvard graduate, Rhodes Scholar, Navy veteran who served in Afghanistan, the first serious openly gay presidential candidate. His showing in the lead up to the primaries predicts a bright political future. We look forward to him working his way up.
One would even say high hopes.
Yeah, high hopes. Yeah, they like Pete. They think he's young and want to see what he actually does, because he's never won an election with more than 10,000 people voting.
Corporate price fixer.
Yeah. Did you show me that video of the guy who confronted him?
Yes,
like the bread pricing?
You were on the front lines of corporate price fixing. No. No, I was not.
Oh, I think that was in Chapo too.
Yeah, it was like I worked for a consulting firm that was hired by a company who may have price fixed bread in Canada. Whoa, wait, who do you think consulted them on that?
Also, that's like the most staple product. Okay, now getting to my boy, Andrew Yang.
Yang.
Right? My boy, Andrew Yang. an entrepreneur and philanthropist, is an engaging and enthusiastic candidate whose diagnoses are often thought-provoking. He points to new solutions to 21st century challenges rather than retrofitting old ideas. Yet he has virtually no experience in government. We hope he decides to get involved in New York politics.
Oh, no.
That's so much shade at a guy.
Ridiculous.
A guy who beat Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Michael Bennett, Steve Bullock, like all the people who threw their hat in the ring, that he's managed to outlast multiple governors, sitting senators, congresspeople.
And also it's the I hope he gets involved in New York politics. I hope he makes my life better.
Yeah.
But I don't want him anywhere near the White House.
Yeah, I don't want him in that national shit. But if he wants to run for mayor, cool, that's kind of tight. Yeah, I mean, he's the reason I like him is he's the guy trying to solve 21st century problems. And New York Times seems to agree and address that too. But, he's got no experience.
We'll put off the 21st century for another couple years.
Yeah, roll back the clock so we can roll it forward. Mr. Bloomberg's current campaign approach reveals more about America's broken system than its likelihood of fixing it.
Hey, they got something right.
Yeah, right? Rather than build support through his ideas and experience, Mr. Bloomberg has spent at least $217 million to date to circumvent the hard, uncomfortable work of actual campaigning. He's also avoided difficult questions, going so far as to bar his own news organization from investigating him and declining to meet with the Times editorial board under the pretext that he didn't yet have positions on enough issues. So the man wants to be president. But he hasn't made up his mind on a lot of stuff, guys. You can't hold him to account.
It's true. You give him some slack.
Hey, the order is, jump into the race, spend hundreds of millions of dollars, then come up with your ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's the weirdest setup to say openly, yeah, I'm trying to be the president. I'll decide what to do when I get there. You can't hold me down on shit because I got no real plans. Yeah. I liked that they went hard after Bloomberg because,
True.
Maybe
how
it's
drunk do you
competing
have to
news
be
organizations,
to
but
want Bloomberg to be in president. Good Lord.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one. I think they got that one right.
Yep.
And okay.
Shout out.
And on to Joe, Papa Joe, Creepy Joe.
I was really worried they were going to endorse him, to be honest.
I was thinking that too.
It was right on the edge of him and Warren.
I was thinking we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We thought it would be, or maybe a week ago or whatever, but we thought it would be him or Warren because it's the New York Times editorial.
Yes,
board.
of course.
Yeah. Klobuchar was the wild card. So talking about Joe, the former vice president commands the greatest fluency on foreign policy and is a figure of great warmth and empathy. Gets real cozy with you.
Warm and close.
He's prone to verbal stumbles, yes. But social media has also made every gaffe a crisis when it is clearly not. Mr. Biden, white kids are just as smart as poor kids. Or poor kids are just as whatever.
Smart as white kids?
Yeah. Mr. Biden maintains a lead in national polls, but that may be a measure of familiarity as much as voter intention.
Wow, no shit.
Right? Yeah, wow. His central pitch to voters is that he can beat Donald Trump. His agenda tinkers at the edge of issues like healthcare and climate, and he emphasizes returning the country to where things were before the Trump era. But merely restoring the status quo will not get America where it needs to go as a society. What's more, Mr. Biden is 77. It's time for him to pass the torch to a new generation of political leaders. I think they actually kind of nailed Joe.
They did, but with the softest hand ever.
Yeah, no, they didn't want to go hard at Joe.
Tinkers at the edge of issues, basically, what is one thing that he has said that he will do that is different than Obama's platform?
And constantly making gaffes is kind of an issue. Because those are going to be political attack ads that write themselves.
Because Trump's gaffes are all things he intentionally he won't backtrack on them. He won't apologize.
He won't back down.
He'll just go double
just
down
say,
on whatever dumb shit he said.
Everyone should buy a record player and play to their kids.
Yeah.
Why not?
But if Joe says something and then has to back down on it, Trump's gonna. Oh my God, he's gonna climb down his throat. He's gonna eat his lunch, as Bernie said.
And I think what they brought up about it being a measure of familiarity is true because I don't know anyone who's super psyched about Joe.
What else could it be?
Yeah, I don't. I get wanting to return to normalcy, but no one's gonna go out in the snow and canvas for Joe.
No.
So
if you want normalcy and you want to canvas hard, you're doing the high hopes dance for Pete.
Yeah,
that's it.
Or getting paid a shit ton of money by Mike. That could be too. Okay. Amy Klobuchar has emerged as a standard bearer for the Democratic center. Her vision goes beyond the incremental. Given the polarization in Washington and beyond, the best chance to enact many progressive plans could be under a Klobuchar administration.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, they came out heavy for Klobuchar.
Progressive? They
wow.
really, like...
I don't know any
What
plans
is she
she
like?
has
He's
that are
like a
progressive.
dark horse.
I also,
progressive
honestly,
secret.
she's so boring and
Yeah.
so
She
nervous.
looks frail. Yeah, she looks
the
like
only
she's...
thing I can think that's really progressive is the way she eats salads. You know,
Yeah, they come up with that. That's mentioned. Don't spoil
no
it.
way.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
They mentioned that and still endorse
Yeah,
her.
that was the best part. That was the best part.
Okay,
I'm
get to
upset
it.
you spoiled that. Cause okay, I'm going to read through the next two paragraphs real quickly so we can just jump into that. Her lengthy tenure in the Senate and bipartisan credentials would make her a deal maker. A real one, as opposed to Bernie. They didn't actually put that, but that's the implication. And uniter for the wings of the party and perhaps the nation. She could bring us all together, boys. Reports of how Senator Klobuchar treats her staff give us pause.
Yes, queen.
They raise serious questions about her ability to attract and hire talented people. Surrounding the president with a team of seasoned, reasoned leaders is critical to the success of an administration. Not doing so is often the downfall of presidencies. Miss Klobuchar has acknowledged she's a tough boss and pledged to do better. Okay, let's dive into that.
Tough boss,
tough, yeah.
slay queen.
Tough boss. She's multiple sourced articles have said she's thrown binders at people, which is just like the move of like a 7-year-old. There was also the one we
My
read about
8th
it
grade math
yesterday,
teacher.
but it was one of her aides bought her a salad, and they were getting on a plane, and it turned out he forgot the fork. So Klobuchar proceeds to whip a comb out of her purse and start eating salad with it to make him feel dumb, and then proceeds to tell him to go clean the comb. Is that who we want as our president? Now, if a story like that came out about Bernie or Yang or any of these people, their campaign would be over.
Oh my god.
But for some
People
reason
would
with Klob,
freak
that's
out.
just being a tough boss.
yeah, just a tough slay queen, you know?
I also like from the New York Times. I like that like they acknowledge this is a problem, but it's not a problem because you're treating human beings like garbage. It's a problem because what does that say about her ability to attract people? Like I think treating human beings like literal garbage is probably enough of a reason, let alone her fear of attracting top talent.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of its own issue as well. Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to like adjudicate things in the like as the
Under
executive,
incredible amounts of pressure.
the commander in chief?
Yeah.
You forget that's also
If you're having
their
a
position.
tough time as the senator from Minnesota, they might not be able to handle the pressures of the presidency. That's all we're saying.
Like, sure, cool. You got enough snow plows to the Twin Cities to, handle a Minnesota winter like without falling apart completely. But what are you gonna do when Iran shoots at a military base?
I
Yeah.
don't know. I think you're
Throw
giving
more
her a hard
binders.
time. That's definitely a prerequisite.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Get the plows where they need to go.
I will say that they must have a better system than here. Like, fuck.
yeah, Boise's rough. Back into it. Miss Klobuchar doesn't have the polished veneer and smooth delivery that comes from a lifetime spent in the national spotlight, and she has struggled to gain traction on the campaign trail. In Minnesota, however, she's enormously popular.
But Minnesota,
she doesn't look or feel presidential, but you can't blame her because she hasn't been in the spotlight that long. But in Minnesota, she's tight as hell, guys.
Minnesota has not gone red since the Dixiecrats. So, like, what does that have to do with
I was reading
anything?
an article about someone wrote on the Daily Beast about how she's never lost because she's never faced a tough election. So that's not really a good calling card of hers is the electability argument.
Yeah.
But she's never faced a tough election.
And Warren brought that up to be like the two women on the stage have won all their elections. That's 4 elections.
Yeah, no,
she had
I think,
2.
I think that Biden's had what, like 30? Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
been alive forever.
Bernie's had like
Yeah.
19 election victories.
Yeah, like of course you're gonna lose a little more often when you're playing the game that much, but also, but we have to address that Warren's not good at math.
no,
because
she's very bad at math.
She also was the only person to beat a Republican in the last 30 years.
Except 30 years ago.
Yeah, 29 years, 2 months. Bernie beat a Republican.
Oh God.
Yeah. This we'll wrap this part up
I think
because
there was a leap year I think
Yeah,
that's what she's
it didn't
talking
count.
about.
Oh,
It
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
count. It
skip
added a couple
it,
days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
There's like 2 paragraphs left of what I clipped from this. The next president will shape the direction of America's prosperity and the future of the planet, perhaps irrevocably. The current president, meanwhile, is a threat to democracy. He was impeached for strong-arming Ukraine into tampering with the 2020 election. There is no reason patriotic Americans should not be open to every chance to replace him at the ballot box. So they're basically saying, be open to the club, because
Come on,
we
guys.
got to take what we can get here, guys.
Oh God.
Yeah, I
just don't see any veneer of electability. Like, at least with Joe, there's like a pretend, like, we can just pretend he's not falling apart on stage and like gonna gaff his way into hysterical, like, dismay. But like,
and he gets more and more upset the more people question him, which Trump's definitely gonna do. So it's just gonna be two old men yelling at each other.
But with her just being on a stage where no one's directly attacking her, because who cares? She's fucking Klobuchar. Nobody attacked her on any debate stage.
No.
She just shakes. She's just standing there shaking like a fucking chihuahua the
And I
entire
get
time.
I get stage fright, but I'm also not
not
trying to be
running for
president. Like, I'm not,
Kinda
like
just-
I think there people pull that out of like people get nervous, but it's like,
Get
yeah,
over
the
it.
president shouldn't. Like those people aren't running
man.
for office.
I
You're literally nothing but a public figure for the next 4 years of your life.
literally. I mean,
Yeah.
I so hope Joe doesn't win the nomination, but I think I would love to see a debate.
Oh yeah,
Between those two. Yeah.
Oh.
either involve adult diapers or take triple the commercial breaks, because those guys could not stand in one place for 3 hours. And also they could not make coherent statements for 3 hours. There would be so much of just like, what was that?
Sorry?
Wait,
He's
what?
trifling Joe. He's just falling apart over there. Oh, I'm gonna take Trump out behind the barn
And
like I
give
used
him
to.
an old
with
walloping.
It's like, what are you fucking talking
What
about?
was that one where he said no malarkey?
No,
No
malarkey.
malarkey.
Well, remember when he was doing those rallies before the campaign started, and he was like, "You know what I ought to do is take Trump back behind the gymnasium and fight him."
Yeah, and you're like, okay.
No horseplay, Tiger.
Oh man. All right, last paragraph. There will be those dissatisfied that this page is not throwing its weight behind a single candidate. Yeah, because that's what
But you promised.
that's what a
what's
fucking
supposed to do.
endorsement
What was
is.
advertised.
Yeah, like that we're gonna endorse someone.
Let's just
Of
do
course
ranked
they're gonna
choice.
be upset. Yeah. They're not throwing its weight behind a single candidate favoring centrists or progressives, but it's a fight the party itself has been itching to have since Mrs. Clinton's defeat in 2016, and one that should be played out in the public arena in the privacy of the voting booth. That's the very purpose of primaries, to test market strategies and ideas that can galvanize and inspire the country. Miss Klobuchar and Miss Warren right now are the Democrats best equipped to lead that debate.
Fuck.
I just don't know why I just think it's interesting they keep saying like Miss Warren and
Yeah, I
Miss
thought you were
Clinton.
supposed to
It's
address people
supposed
by
to be-
titles.
it's-
It would be Senator Warren,
Secretary
Senator
Clinton.
Sanders, yeah.
Senator Klobuchar.
That's how that's supposed to. Like, why do they keep saying Miss?
The
Like,
only
so-
Mister you could probably have is Yang because he has no title.
He doesn't.
But even
which-
that you could say Andrew Yang Esquire. he did graduate law school, boys. I also like how that they contradict themselves so much, but they're saying like the purpose of primaries is to test market strategies and who can win, and they endorse someone polling sub 3%. It's like if the purpose of primaries is to find the person,
But also,
she's
fuck the
not-
market.
Yeah, exactly. If the purpose is to find that person, she's not the person.
No,
She's
here's what
not.
they're saying, though. The market would be great if it weren't for all these people with penises on stage ruining it.
Yeah,
Ruining it.
If men didn't hate women, they just wouldn't try to beat them at things. I mean, it's as simple as that, boys. We solved sexism.
God. We'll just have the women's
Who
party
knew?
versus the men party going
Yeah.
forward.
All I
And
needed was 3 white guys sit around a table. And we
solved
sexism.
it. We solved it. Got him. Yeah, so that was the New York. I think that was the important pieces to me from the New York Times editorial opinion piece.
oh, man.
It was just a hot pile of garbage. It also went on for way too long.
Hot flaming.
I know
pile of
that was like
garbage.
20 minutes, but reading this thing was like a fucking chore, guys.
That was a painful reading series.
Yeah,
that's
this was
our
a hard
first.
one to kick it off.
I'm sorry to you guys, but yeah, that was something else.
Yeah.
Warren's my third. Fuck Klobuchar.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Seriously.
Club is real bad.
I mean, if you throw a binder at someone, I think you shouldn't be allowed to do anything. All right. Do we want to call it halftime for now?
Yeah. We'll go regroup and bring you some interesting content in the second half.
Cool. See you in a bit.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
All right. Welcome back to second half of second attempt of episode 1 of Slightly Informed.
Third attempt.
Yes. We have our...
Jesus.
Bless you.
Bless you, McLean.
Thank you.
Dad sneeze.
That's easy.
We have a weekly tradition with this show, which we've done 3 times and are now releasing for the first, called Shoutouts. And this can be a sarcastic shout-out for, someone doing dumb stuff this week, a sincere shout-out, or, anywhere in between. Kicking it off, we're going to send it over to John. John, what's your shout-out for the week?
I just wanted to shout out my boy Moscow Mitch. For
Cocaine Mitch.
for going on Fox News like 2 weeks ago and claiming that impeachment was a political process and that he wasn't going to pretend to be an impartial juror, and then having to swear on the Senate floor to be an impartial juror. I just liked that kind of like cognitive dissonance of Mitch McConnell. So shout out to you, Mitch. Keep being yourself, I guess.
And then not.
Yeah, or die. Either way.
We're down
I
for it all.
don't really care. Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll go next. My shout-out is a sincere one this week. Shout-out to the host of the Joe Rogan Experiment, Joe Rogan himself, having a very clear and concise take here. So I'm gonna play that next.
I think that this idea that everybody should have health care, it's a great idea. Who the fuck wants people to not be healthy? Who wants people to be hurt and not be able to fix it? Are you really saying that struggling people should have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to get fixed when we could maybe chip in and help members of our team? That's stupid. Fill it up. Figure it out yourself. I had to. You got lucky, bitch. You got lucky you don't have leukemia. You didn't break both your legs when you were 18. Your parents are dead. Right. You got lucky, piece of shit.
What a radical son of a bitch.
Yeah.
God.
I just like how angry he gets.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Fired
0 to
up.
100 super quick with Joe Rogan. I love it.
And I mean, it's just like so true that
Right?
like you got lucky.
Yeah.
Either in like the status you were born in or like the health you just happened to stumble your way into.
Yeah, you got born not with diabetes.
Yeah,
you
not
got
with type 1 diabetes like that.
Yeah,
That's you didn't work for that. You didn't pull yourself up by the bootstraps to avoid leukemia.
Yep. Nothing like good old personal responsibility in medicine. Yeah. All right. Well, throwing it over to McLean. Hey, McLean, who was your shout-out?
Oh, my shout-out goes to body language experts everywhere. The greatest grifters ever. We have a little bit of a clip to show you from my personal favorite.
And she had a great clip with Joy Reid. I'm sure you guys have seen it, where she said that Bernie was, clearly lying in his spit with Warren that we're going to show you in a minute. But this is just something to show you the bona fides of the highly expertise field.
How much science goes into this?
A lot of science.
Yeah. Here we go.
Welcome back to part 4. Isn't this exciting? Bazaar magazine, as you know, had an article called 100 Best Red Carpet Gowns of All Time. Here are some of the other colors that made the list. This one, Charlize Theron in this tangerine orange at the Academy Awards in 2000. Then there's J-Lo, my girl, at the Golden Globes in 2004. Orange, listen, it's tricky, because it's connected with activity and caution, which sometimes gives people this energy boost, right, when we drink it, but other times it holds back and says proceed with caution. I want you to think about it. You're driving down the highway. I said, that's so funny. The highway. And you see these orange cones. It says, slow down. But yet we also have the color orange with speeding up with what? Gatorade. You see orange. You see a lot of uniforms with athletes in orange. That orange color is tricky. That's probably why we don't see it a lot.
This is a profession I didn't know existed.
But now we're very interested.
We're very interested in becoming body language
We're already
experts.
halfway through. We are on what? Episode 9, season 2 of Lie to Me?
Yeah.
So we're almost there. It's
Right? Guys, red is a tricky color in a dress because on one hand you think of a stoplight. Stop sign. What does it mean? Stop. But then a solo cup maybe means you're going to a party.
party on.
That
Red
sounds
race
like
car,
a go.
super fast.
Right?
Ooh,
Race car. Ooh,
very
Lightning
fast,
McQueen.
yes.
Fast.
I
Red.
am
fast.
speed.
Yeah. This is something you can do for any color.
Just name a color,
Yeah.
pick 2 things off the top of your head.
Or even in the other ones where she's like, he turtles up. He's clearly lying. It's like, no, that's an old man with a hunchback. Like
Donald Trump, he leans forward, he leans back.
Statement about the future?
He's talking
Oh.
about the future. There could be a
he's
future
thinking of
going
the past.
forward. Maybe he's backing up.
Maybe he's slowing down. You know, we just don't fucking know.
We're just really glad they exist.
Yeah.
Oh man, like giving psychics everywhere a run for their money.
We
on
have to look up
greatest
her net
grifters.
worth or like how
Ooh,
much
we
money
can
she
do that
makes.
right now.
My favorite thing after you do that, read her Twitter bio. It's
yes.
gold.
Net worth.
She might not be famous enough to have a net worth, but
$46,000.
Yeah, it doesn't even come up.
Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Turner net worth. Okay, I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, we
let's
shouldn't
see.
get derailed. But I'm just thinking, if this woman is worth anything more than like $50,000, like
It's
this is a profession we actively need to pursue. If this is a way to make money,
It's just loaded.
This on its
Yeah.
own would be an indictment of our system if she is worth more than that.
yeah, exactly.
Now
So
I've got the Twitter bio. This is the last thing we'll say about this lovely person. International communications expert, published author, keynote speaker, and popular media guest, owner and president of the Body Language Institute.
I think for a lot of those, I could say same.
Yeah, you know.
yeah, I could make up a
I'm
company.
a popular media guest. I've
Yeah.
appeared on 2 podcasts.
Oh my god! All right, well, let's get back into the news, boys.
Back into the news. We've got some great stuff coming out of CNN, ever reliable CNN source. We have the CNN debate a couple days ago with the only interesting moment in the entire thing being the manufactured spat between Warren and
This
Bernie.
is also wild to me because it was only a couple days ago, but does it not feel like this could have been like a year and a half old
really
story?
does.
So
Like it's weird how like
Just
little I care
permeates.
and how quickly the topic transitions to something new. But it was like under a week ago.
Yep. Oh man. So this is just the way that they worded the question off the bat to kind of pit Bernie and Warren against each other.
Just actively call him a liar
Yeah.
in the question.
Yeah.
Like,
when did
So
you stop
dirty
beating your wife?
fucking liar.
yeah. When did you stop beating your wife?
All right, here we go.
Let's now turn to an issue that's come up in the last 48 hours. Senator Sanders. CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement, that in 2018, you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it.
You guys know, though, 9 words. He could have just said no. 9 words means he's lying.
No.
Oh gosh.
Oh, man.
And it didn't stop there. They had to double dip. They threw this back at Bernie again and doubled down on the "when did you stop beating your wife" wording of the question here. I'll just let CNN say it.
So Senator Sanders, I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
The crowd laughs.
Oh, man.
Fuck.
Now, if I was a body language expert, the way the lady flubs that question, I think she knew it was a fucked up question. Like, to phrase it that way is pretty down and dirty.
What color was she wearing?
Yeah.
Orange. She was very, there
She was
a lot
cautious about asking
But
this.
there was a lot of energy.
But she was active.
She wanted to go.
Yeah.
She had a lot of
Yeah, no,
energy
I mean, this
because
was
she
unfair,
ate
and
an
it
orange.
like blatantly shows the media's bias against Bernie Sanders and the fact that they don't want an actual transformational president. But it's not going to happen.
Like, I think they've transitioned away from trying in any way to reach like informed voters with coverage by mass media because like nobody fell for this. Not even
Yeah.
the engaged Warren like surrogates like that aren't like heavily invested in her campaign. She lost 2% of the of her votes, like of the polling. She lost 3%.
And I think there's like a high level in like media companies where they like long for the days of olden times when they would have like a strong influence on who could become president. And just in the internet era and the Twitter era, they don't have that kind of power.
No.
So this was like a final swing at trying to say like, hey, the narrative is still what we say it is. It's not what actually happened. That's the narrative. So I think that was CNN's attempt to like have some power back in who gets to be our president.
And I know what you might be thinking, like, oh, well, I mean, CNN saying this, but sure, it was Warren that had to have, taken this to them at the, like a week ago or so, been like, hey, I want you guys to release this story.
Or a Warren staffer.
Yeah, Warren staffer. Yeah, of course. But we have some news coming out of Ryan Grimm's article in The Intercept, article titled, "The Sanders Campaign Researched Whether Warren Could Be Both Vice President and Treasury Secretary at Once."
Which would be wild, too.
Yeah, it is crazy. But
she's my vice president, my treasurer, my secretary of the Navy, postmaster general. Elizabeth Warren's just tight. You guys don't get it.
She can do it all.
Yeah.
Department of Labor,
right?
HUD,
Exactly. I have a cabinet. It's talking to Liz.
Started a little podcast, the Bernie and Liz podcast.
The Fireside Chats.
Well, those days
with
are
the
over.
president and the cabinet.
Those days are over. But yeah, Grimm here goes off in the fourth paragraph. I really wish he would have, either put this a little higher up or maybe mentioned something about this in the article title. But I imagine that was the editor, not Ryan himself, that decided that. He says, not long after meeting with Sanders at the end of 2018 to discuss her impending presidential run, Warren hosted an off-the-record dinner with a number of journalists, according to sources with knowledge of it. At the dinner, Warren was asked about her meeting with Sanders, and in the course of the discussion, she relayed that Sanders had warned that he did not believe a woman could beat Trump in 2020, which on its own, that is already like disproves what they said. They told him that, or they claimed that he said a woman could not become president.
Yeah, that's not true. He's on the record from like 1978 or something, saying like, a black person could be president, a woman could be president, anyone could be president.
We should be working towards that,
And that was like way before this was cool to believe.
Campaigned 40 times for Hillary in the general election, wanted Warren to run in 2016 before he did.
Well, that's the thing. I heard Bernie, back in the 70s when everyone was complete opposite of what they are now. Bernie was on the right side, but now that everyone's on the right side, Bernie's now on the wrong side.
We got to shift that ball.
He's an anti-Semite who hates women.
Yeah, exactly. Self-hating Jew, misogynist.
That's the play now.
Diving back in, we've got different reporters recalled the comments differently. A mirror image of the dispute between Warren and Sanders over exactly what Sanders said, with Warren saying that Sanders argued a woman couldn't beat Trump, while Sanders said that he only said Trump would weaponize misogyny against women. A fact.
That sounds like something you would say, because it already happened.
Yeah.
That's in his playbook. Yes. Okay.
She's got blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Oh, God. And then he said not that it would work. The Intercept was not at the dinner. Most politicians hold informal off-the-record dinners or meetings with journalists, though it's not something Sanders is known to do. Occasionally, details from those meetings leak, but it's rare. From there, the piece of news entered the journalistic bloodstream, circulating among reporters as gossip, but not finding its way into print. On Monday, it finally did, with CNN's MJ Lee reporting that, according to 4 sources described as 2 people Warren spoke with directly soon after the encounter and 2 people familiar with the meeting, Sanders had told Warren, according to CNN's paraphrasing, that he did not believe a woman could win. Oh, man. Remember phone tag or whatever they called it, where you would pass a phrase around a circle? Telephone, yeah. Where you would where you would just whisper something into someone's ear. By the time it reached the other way around, it was it went from
the dog went on a walk to the giraffe murdered your mom.
What
the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Seems like what's actually going on here. But
also, just self-sourcing. It was 2 people who also weren't there confirmed it. So
it's
must be true.
They were familiar with the meeting.
My cousin's girlfriend's brother's stepdad.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no.
But even the people Warren told about it weren't in the room. There's the only 2 people in the room were Warren and Sanders. No one else knows what they said. And they both disagree about what was said. But CNN is just she's got sources that she told, so she's right.
Believe women.
Hashtag.
Believe women. After Me Too, we can't ever question anything a woman says in any context.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, it's so bad. Now there was one more moment we do want to play for you guys. I'm sure you saw this as well from the cold microphones or the supposedly dead microphones.
Yeah, I love it. CNN's like, we found this, and it's like, yeah, you recorded it yesterday,
you
dude.
were listening.
Like
you just didn't put it on
the
TV.
whole event was being recorded. Like that was kind of the point.
We caught these players mic'd up.
Yeah, who put the mic on them?
They're mic'd up. You have those guys on the sidelines with the giant
Like
cone things.
Yeah,
and they're like,
yeah.
We're gonna hear the helmets clash.
But in this case, CNN put mics on them, like on their person, and then was like, we found the footage.
Oh my gosh, that was a good idea.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
Glad we had those microphones there. All right, here goes.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have that discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good.
Hi, Bernie. Hi, Bernie. It's nice seeing you.
Say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, good.
Bernie, what are you doing after this?
You want to hit the dive bars?
Oh man, I love how Steyer's like the kid, and Warren and Bernie are the parents fighting
over
and
it.
Bernie has the mad dad energy of, you want to do this? We're not going to do this.
We're
now.
gonna do this?
Let's
Okay.
We're gonna do this in front of
oh, wait,
Tommy.
yeah.
We're gonna do this in front of little Tommy. Really?
Yeah.
Right
Tommy's
here.
innocent ears.
We'll talk about this when we get home. Not
Yeah.
here at the Olive Garden.
OG. He just walks up like he just drew a picture. Hi, Bernie. I drew this. At school.
Does that make you happy?
Is it going on the fridge?
I just wanted to know if I could play the video games. a
Oh
little
man!
longer.
Now, in more recent news, it's MLK Day, the day we're recording this, and there were shots of them two marching together, like hand in hand, and laughing and joking. So I don't. Maybe they talked about it and they're past it. Maybe they just decided like attacking each other probably wasn't good for either of them, and they should just get over it. But it seems like they're not like at war anymore. So
Well, I mean, like, remember all the racist crap that was slung by Hillary at Obama in the
Yes.
2008 like primary? He was her Secretary of Defense, like, or Secretary of State. Sorry, like
yeah, which I also think was a bitch move to make her
Yeah.
Secretary of State.
that is major cuck energy. Sorry,
that's-
Obama.
Yeah, I don't hate Obama. I don't love him either, but I don't hate him. But like, after how dirty of a campaign that was, be like,
Oh
hey,
my
you want to work together?
gosh.
Build that resume?
25% of Hillary primary voters voted McCain in the general election.
Really?
25%.
It's fucking crazy.
That's the overall amount of Bernie supporters who didn't vote for Hillary in 2016.
Good.
But only 9% of those went to Trump. 3% went to like Gary Johnson, 5% to Jill Stein,
I'm
and the
in
rest
that
just
3%.
didn't show up.
Yeah,
just didn't show up at
I
all.
voted for Gary.
I'm voting for Aleppo.
yeah. No, I was in a state where it didn't matter. I was in California.
Yeah, I was in Utah. There's,
It's gonna go blue anyway, and I
Nothing's
didn't want to
gonna
be on
happen.
the record supporting either of them because they both suck.
Yeah.
So I voted Gary because he sucks too, but at least he wasn't gonna win.
I liked the latest one of the later Chapo episodes where they were talking about how like the way to go forward from this is like when people are calling out Bernie supporters being like, you're not really part of the Democratic Party. You're just gonna not show up if your candidate doesn't win. And they're like, yeah, bitch, you're right. Like
Yeah.
that might happen.
want
so
someone to win.
if your biggest issue is beating Trump, then vote for our guy. Like it's gonna happen. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, vote for someone who's not going to have their candidates or their voters just take the ball and leave.
Yeah,
We might.
We did.
Yeah.
We did in 2016. Like we'll do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernie's my number 2, but if it's not one of those two and it's not Liz, I'm out. I've said this multiple times. I'm not on the team of like vote blue no matter who. I think that's lame. I think
If I lived
think
in
the DNC's
Ohio,
got to learn.
or
Yeah, if I lived in a place that
Pennsylvania,
mattered,
yeah,
I might have to
I would
begrudgingly do it. but
I'd
I'm
vote for
not.
any, even the worst Democrat because of the judiciary. But here in Idaho,
Yeah, we're voting in Idaho.
it's
We're going
Trump's
red.
gonna win.
Yeah.
He's gonna win. Like he hasn't lost the energy. The only way to
You
win
see-
is to activate bases that are
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
Idaho's definitely red. I was driving home the other day and I saw a Trump flag in the bed of a pickup truck.
There's 2 people in my neighborhood with Trump flags.
But this was no ordinary Trump flag.
Uh-oh.
This flag was bigger than most American flags. would say.
Really?
It was the largest flag. I was like, he was driving. I'm like, he's gonna take out this street, like this stoplight, like it's giant. And it just said Trump 2020. Fuck your feelings.
Yeah,
fuck
I've
your
seen that one
feelings.
too.
And I was just like, he must be getting like negative miles per gallon. That is a giant flag.
Yeah.
That's
I
Idaho.
have one in my neighborhood, MAGA, and I have one
Unfortunately.
in my neighborhood, CAG. Keep America great. These last 4 years really did it.
I don't know if anyone's unfamiliar with Idaho's long history of great slogans on signs and stickers and flags. There's a long-standing sign along the highway from here down to like Utah and Salt Lake area that says "Get the U.S. out of the UN."
yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
Oh my god.
You never see it? Yeah,
Yeah,
John,
it's
you gotta
so
see
funny.
it.
I've never headed that direction.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's been there for like what, like
It's been
20
there,
years,
Yeah,
something
it's
like
been
that?
there a while.
Yeah.
It's just on some farmer just put it up on his land right off the freeway.
Yeah, literally just first thing you see on the
If
left.
I had a farm, I'd so put up signs though.
Yeah.
You got to.
It's got it. It's like starting to peel, like it's been there so long. And like that you can like, is that a snake? Or
No step on snake.
no step on snake.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just really over this Bernie Warren thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully they are too.
Hopefully they are too.
Seems like it.
It seems like Bernie's pulling further ahead. I don't
Yeah.
know what Warren's play is going to be around that. I think she stays till Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's she's clearly either vying for a high cabinet official spot, a VP nomination, or like I just can't. There's no path to
I think
victory. I don't
VP would be a waste for her though, because I don't think
she's more useful in many other roles.
Yeah, she's a way better legislator, but B, like, is she going to run again in 8 years if, like, Bernie wins and gets a second term? Because you can't primary a sitting president. Like, it doesn't happen. I mean, you can. It doesn't happen.
Technically, Joe Walsh is trying to do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
against Trump.
But they're all polling, like, sub 1%. Like, it never succeeds, at least in the modern era. I don't know about, like, way in the past, but it never succeeds. So I think it would be a better idea for, like, a Bernie or Biden to nominate someone younger who can, like, continue their legacy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who's it going to be though? Like for either of our guys, like I mean, for Bernie especially because of the age thing. I mean, he could definitely make a term. He's gonna do a whole.
This
term if
has
he
been my
wins, but,
pitch
like,
to Nick for like a month. Is Bernie nominates Yang pre like Super Tuesday if Yang doesn't get anything out of Iowa or New Hampshire, nominates Yang to be VP. You pull in the whole Yang gang, who's like 6% nationally, and Bernie takes like a 6-point bump nationally. And then I know they disagree on like federal jobs guarantee versus UBI, but they both have like progressive ideas. And most even like hard progressives who say like UBI is a Trojan horse don't even say UBI is a Trojan horse. They say Yang's UBI. So they're not like necessarily against UBI.
They're just saying
They
that
just think the way it's implemented this time through a VAT, which I don't know how else you would fund it, but the way it's implemented this time is not progressive enough. Yeah. But I think that's like an easy way to pull 5 points for anyone who would make Yang like a dark horse nominee for VP.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, it did give me a little bit of a scare in that second or third debate, whenever it was, when they asked like who your unlikely friend is, or no, not that wasn't the unlikely friend.
Oh,
it was like who else on the stage do you have some common ground? I don't know what the way they worded the question, but essentially. He said like something like, "Oh, Joe Biden's the only one who came up to me interested in learning about the Fourth Industrial Revolution and all the other talking points that he had." And it's like,
yeah,
that's because like he's
confused and wants to know what
you're
talking about.
He's like, I've never heard any of these words before.
Where are
Warren
we?
said she's reading his book.
Yeah, I think
because that was the other awkward one where they're like, "What are you going to give people for Christmas?" And he was like, "What the fuck kind of question is this?" Yang was like, "I don't know. Warren's reading my book. I could give everyone else books, I guess." Like, I don't.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's been some weird questions, but that is my dark horse VP nominee. I would still like Yang to win, and I think there's still a possibility. Even though everyone's just ignoring that possibility, I think it's still possible. But chances are he doesn't. But like major chances, and I think he'd be a great nominee pick for Bernie, Biden. I mean, those are probably the people who are going to win. So Bernie or Biden. I think that'd be a great way to like get a quick bump and crossover appeal, especially for a Biden of the world.
Yeah.
Because Yang appeals way more to Republicans than Biden does. So you could at least hopefully still pull some of the Yang ganging.
That's the big fallacy that the Democrats always believe is that like being in the center makes you appeal to the right.
That doesn't
The
work.
fuck it doesn't.
Yeah, that 100%
Everyone,
doesn't work.
everyone who they hate of the Democrats is in the center.
Yeah.
Hillary is in the center. Fucking like Joe Biden, Obama, like everyone that's like a target for them, Pelosi, none of them have any
None of them are
progressive values.
progressive,
No,
yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
like the only person that's progressive that they hate is just AOC because they can like make racist like
Yeah, because she's
fucked up cartoons
a
of her.
Latina bartender who
Yeah.
became a congresswoman who isn't the perfect example of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. But somehow they fucking target her ass.
Yeah, like there's no crossover appeal for Biden. They see through his milquetoast bullshit. It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not going anywhere. I think.
And Trump's poisoned the well for Warren, so it's really Bernie or Yang or the only
Warren
one
poisoned her
pulling.
own well too, so it
I'm-
wasn't all Trump.
I'm super Native American. I have
My grandpa
high
told me I have high cheekbones. So, you know who else has high cheekbones? You just link them together, and that's me.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So we have to move on to our next thing. We're going to talk about real briefly the impeachment rules because we think that that's going to be hilarious. We had a little bit of a funny moment in our other podcast talking about the Senate rules for filibusters and stuff. We had a long conversation about how great it would be to see a
if you had to stand up there for 24 hours and shit your pants on.
Yeah, you had to wear an adult diaper
Yeah.
and crap your slacks in front of your colleagues to keep talking. But it sounds like they're not going to be able to move, talk, get up, any of that stuff. Bathroom. It didn't specify bathroom breaks.
But I think you'd have to
it's-
get up to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It said no standing
No
up.
standing
Detention.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
we're putting the Senate in detention, and it's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
All right, so we're gonna play you the first
Only
little bit.
cocaine man. He's the only one gonna be talking.
Just gonna listen to Mitch McConnell.
That's one thing. I mean,
talk.
we're slightly informed, so I don't get how this is gonna go because they also said they weren't gonna take info from the House or like very little of it.
Yeah,
and
it
they,
has to pass through the Secretary of the Senate. or
yeah, and they
whatever.
weren't gonna accept new information, and they weren't gonna have any witnesses testify. So I don't know what they're gonna talk about during it.
Welcome to our
We're gonna stand up here and read
proceedings.
Art of the Deal.
Yeah. Or Don Jr.'s new book. Like,
Triggered.
yeah.
All right.
Standing here at Arlington National Cemetery reminded me of the sacrifices my family made.
Yeah. Never going to war for this country. But I got bullied online.
But the Twitter people were mean to me.
All right, let's play this.
So here's the clip, just kind of running over the rules.
Do you solemnly swear?
The impeachment trial, a test of the president's political strength, a test of America's constitutional resilience, and a test of senators' abilities to sit down and be quiet.
I like that.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silent on pain of imprisonment.
Among the new written restrictions for senators inside the chamber during the trial, keeping your mouth shut, even refraining from whispering to the person next to you. There's no use of cell phones or other electronic devices in the chamber. No reading materials are allowed unless they're related to the impeachment trial. And no standing. Senators have to sit in their seats when the trial is in session, except to vote.
You cannot even move during the course of the trial. Now, what that will do for middle-aged and older men who may need to bring in catheters is another story.
Some senators are already chafing tonight. Quote, "That's going to suck," said Marco Rubio about the no talking rule.
Best take. Marco Rubio. That's going to suck.
That sucks.
I also love a passion of mine is rules made for like one specific reason. I like in that where they're talking about like no reading materials unless it's related to the trial. Because you know, sometime in the past, some guy just brought like Lord of the Rings to the Senate and was like,
I'm
"You
tuning
said
this
reading
out."
materials are fine." Like, yeah. I'm not on my phone, but
What happened here?
yeah, exactly. I love those. What happened here?
Someone leans over to you. Do you know Hagrid's backstory?
Yeah. I get the no phones thing, but I just love the idea of like every senator's bringing a book.
Yeah,
And like, it's just like, yeah, this sucks.
Oh, God, Marco Rubio's got his AirPods in.
Yeah. And a beanie. He's like, they'll never catch me.
Sorcerer's Apprentice on tape.
I also like, Marco Rubio that's like a good take. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there was just more like straight talk like that from like senators. Be like, yeah, I think that's some dumb bullshit.
I didn't vote for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we need more of in the world. I think largely we're not going to talk too much impeachment because we kind of see how this is going to end already. So
Yeah, the best one is the meme from Always Sunny where Mac is handing him a bowl of his mac and cheese, and it's he's the House of Representatives handing him, and the bowl is impeachment, and then Dennis just grabs it and throws it across the room into the Senate.
Yeah, that's how this is going to go. I mean, there's some talk that a couple Republican senators are defecting, at least to allow witnesses to talk. But there's no guarantee. That's like rumbling. No one's come out and said it. And there's also, you can't trust that they're actually going to do it until they do it, because most of these people are way more concerned about elections than actually helping our country.
And the only energy for them is Trump. Is just saying, I'm the most Trump guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
or at least not letting Trump attack them.
And on those Senate rules, the C-SPAN coverage is super spotty. It normally you can watch the chambers whenever, you know. I read that they might have, now that this article came out, talk about it more. But I guess you can't watch the whole thing. Some of it won't be on C-SPAN, and
Weird.
Like what?
Yeah.
This is
I think it's gonna be it looks like a fake trial. I mean, what trial doesn't have witnesses or evidence or anything
or
like
can use already established evidence like in another trial setting. Like,
I think if there was live video of this just being boring as hell, then I think people would know it was like a rigged trial.
Oh, man.
I also love the on pain of imprisonment. Like, like if I'm a senator, I stand up and we get like tackled by some law enforcement.
Come here, you're coming with me.
Yeah, like I don't know how they're gonna enforce these rules. If I was a senator, just being the person I am, I would stand up just to kind of see what happens. Yeah,
you're gonna come get me.
You guys got the balls, like, because imagine like fucking like 13 Democrat senators just get arrested at the impeachment trial. That'd be so funny.
You pull out what's her name? We were just talking about her.
The Globe.
No.
Janine Driver.
I'm carrying.
Yeah.
Oh, gun girl.
Gun girl. Poop girl.
Yeah.
Poop girl.
Yeah, I think that would be where I was talking about power moves. I think that'd be a Democratic power move, just to all stand up and get arrested.
Just have it be like.
It was like that time Republicans tried to storm that briefing that they weren't allowed into to try to get arrested on camera, but like half of them were allowed to be in the briefing.
Like, it was like there was no official.
They just thought it would be a great visual to like Democrats arrest Republicans in the House of Representatives. Like I think that the Democrats should just flip it and then like
every Democrat
start talking and standing up
to the Macarena, like standing up.
Oh, man. And singing it. You got talking and standing. Come get me.
Get me.
Oh, man.
That'd be good.
All right.
I don't know about you guys. I think I'm burned out on the impeachment talk.
I'm way burned out.
I
think this is going to be a loser for Democrats because no one cares and it sucks.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's like they're gonna have some like the day after the Senate obviously votes to not remove him from office, which is the only
completely
punishment.
Exonerated in this witch hunt.
Yeah, exactly. Witch hunt over. Yeah. I've won and stuff like that. You'll see like New York Times release Teflon Don survives again. You know, it's like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be an active strategy of Donald Trump to like actively get in a new scandal like once a day, because then you can't focus on anything to try to impeach him over.
Look over here.
Yeah,
Look over here. I'm at Mar-a-Lago
the
talking
Ukraine
about the
thing was like
Iran.
2 months ago. Yeah, there's already been like six scandals. Like we can't lock anything down because there's a new one we got to talk about every time. I think it might be like a legit strategy.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. All right, I think we should hit our last clip.
We're gonna move on to our chaser here. This is gonna be just a nice smooth
Help the
exit.
medicine go down.
Yeah, it helped the terrible taste of what we've already given you here.
Yeah,
seems just a little bit more palatable. Actually, I think we're gonna do two clips here. One, we have...
We should do all three.
Oh, should we do all three? All right, I think we got time. We got time. We'll do all three.
We can skip the other one by the pool, because that's just... There was a dementia moment we thought about, but we're going to go with these three, because they're way funnier.
First one is shout out to when The Daily Show was good. Shout out Jon Stewart.
Oh wait, Nick, tell the listeners how we got to this website though first, because it's a tight story.
JoeBiden.info.
So in our search in the halftime, in take two of 3 of this episode here, we were looking. We said going into the break, hey, I bet if we Googled Joe Biden creepy, we could reach like page 3 without finding a repeat of content. It would just be new content all the way
like
through
40,000 results.
Yeah. But it was even better than that. We searched Joe Biden creepy, and sometimes they put those like top 4 pictures come up in the top before you see the links come down. This was a collage. There was like 28 pictures of him like groping women in like in a room full of cameras. Like,
no shame.
Zero
shame.
Just doing that over and over and over again. And we clicked on just the weirdest one of him holding the face of some Asian girl and kissing the top of her forehead from behind. Like really, really creepy.
Yeah.
And we come to this website that looks, very official. It looks like a Joe Biden website.
It says Joe Biden 2020.
It says Biden 2020. Uncle Joe is back and ready to take a hands-on approach to America's problems. But some courageous soul gathered all of the best and worst moments of Joe Biden trying to, give like they said, a hands-on approach to policymaking and politics.
It's great. It is. They have a list of Joe's legislative accomplishments: against gay marriage, for mass incarceration, against abortion rights, against school busing, for Iraq war, for death penalty and harsh drug sentences. It's
but at first glance,
website.
It looks like an official website
really
for Joe
does.
Biden.
It's so good.
We left it at first because we thought it was an official Joe Biden website.
Wow, why would he post that?
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, go back. That didn't say .com.
Oh, read the quote.
So here's the best quote on here. It says, quote, I mean, you got the first mainstream African-American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. 2007, Joe Biden. After probably like hours after meeting with him about becoming the vice president. Like, he's clearly like, oh, wow, look at this.
Yeah. All right, let's play these people the clips.
Yeah, we got the clips.
Get you this chaser so we can end this.
Man, we both have something in common. We're both married up. And you come in here, brother, and get right in the middle.
Hi, Emily. I hope you have a big fence around your house.
I just love how fast it turns from a hello to hope you have a big fence around your house. Like, it wasn't even if you said that like 3 minutes into a conversation, it'd be weird. But the quick turn, it was just like, what? What does that mean? That's not a saying. It's not a saying either. Like,
because Uncle Joe's coming.
Yeah, he's coming.
Only the biggest offenses stop Uncle Joe.
And if you thought that was scary, just think how much scarier it is after this clip about his thoughts on personal safety and guns.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. If there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony here, fire 2 blasts outside the house. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun.
Oh my God! Just buy a shotgun. I also love just the 2 blasts thing. It was like you just want people to walk outside their home anytime they think there might be an issue.
Throwing hot lead.
Yeah.
A raccoon rustling through the trash.
Yeah. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, that's just Ted again with his shotgun. Don't worry, this happens every night about 3 a.m. Oh man. I love Joe.
He's
creepy
great.
Uncle Joe. Now, not only is he creepy and weird and has just terrible ideas.
Terrible ideas about guns.
At least he's not racist,
No,
right?
he could never be racist.
He ran with a black guy. A nice, clean, bright,
bright.
nice looking.
Those are all compliments, Nick. That's not.
I am clearly just taking that too far and running with it.
Oh God.
But yeah, no, there's definitely no chance that he's racist in any way. Play the clip.
That's where, and more to come, I think. So.
No, I've had a great relationship. In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
Oh, no.
He is speaking to a representative of the Indian base of his support, too. Like, this is...
Oh, my God.
It's like, oh, man.
I mean, and like it's an attempt at humor, I think.
Yeah, he's just really thought that was going to land.
But it's the worst attempt at humor.
It's terrible.
So, yeah.
You guys definitely need to check this website out.
You can't go into 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts without a slight
Indian accent.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
JoeBiden.info also sells shirts.
Hiding from Biden.
Hiding from Biden. Joe Biden touched me. Quid pro Joe. Grabby Uncle Joe. And there's a couple. Biden behind Obama. Biden behind Hillary. Biden behind Biden, my personal favorite.
Now, if you want to learn more, if this chaser was just enough of a taste to make you interested, JoeBiden.info. Please scroll down the entire thing. There are GIFs, videos, pictures.
You could get a good hour out of this.
Oh,
webpage.
easy. Yeah. This is and this is just one website. This is all you need.
Yeah.
Do your own research for the other stuff, but yeah.
Please don't nominate Joe.
Oh my God, if that happens,
I'm leaving.
Yeah, Canada it is. Oh wait, they have Trudeau.
Yeah.
Fuck.
No, I'm not gonna be one of those people either that says I'm leaving.
Well,
okay.
That's it for the chaser. That is it for episode 1. We hope we will listen to
Slightly
this.
informed. Yeah, let's hope we don't need to take 4.
Yeah, potentially take 4. We'll see you next time. But hopefully episode 2.
Later,
All
guys.
right, later.